Hello, we will be discussing about fermented dairy products today. In the first episode, we will cover a general concept. Here we will discuss how exactly these products arose, a brief history of these products, the diverse products which can be produced by fermentation brought about in milk by several starter culture organisms. Now, in 1910, it was Elie Metchnikoff who first advocated the use of these fermented dairy products. He suggested that Bulgarians lived longer because they consumed large amounts of Bulgarian sour milk, which was inoculated with the lactic acid bacteria Lactobacillus bulgaricus. International Dairy Federation in 1969 defined fermented milk products as products produced from milk, whole, partially or fully skimmed, concentrated milk, or milk substituted from partially or fully skimmed dried milk, homogenized or not, pasteurized or sterilized, and fermented by means of specific microorganisms. It was noted that plain milk with some certain lactic acid bacteria used as starter cultures can be converted to a diverse variety of products. This actually happened accidentally in the ancient days, but present day, with development of genetic engineering, a whole knowledge of several starter culture bacteria, and typically microbiological involvements have led us understand what is actually fermentation, which brings about these kinds of products in the market. Now, basically, ordinary milk would be consumed by people, but there are certain section, or you can imagine even local or regional people consuming a lot of varied milk products. Most of these products are actually fermented, and consumption has increased due to a lot of advantages which these have over plain milk. Firstly, they have better keeping quality, which means that you can keep the product for a longer time than you could do with ordinary milk. Secondly, these are known to possess better flavor, better texture, better taste, and all these along with certain acidic component in the product makes them widely acceptable. Now, coming to the next point, that is their nutritive value and digestibility, we have seen that some people cannot consume milk because they are lactose intolerant. In these kinds of individuals, administration of fermented milk product would be beneficial because in a typical fermented product, the milk sugar lactose gets converted to lactic acid. So lactose wouldn't be there, and the problems faced by lactose intolerant people would be solved out. And additionally, moreover, most of these products are also known to have certain therapeutic benefits. That means they are also used in the curing of several intestinal disorders because they have some probiotic cultures placed in them. Now, as we look into a typical composition of fermented milk, this is more evident. We can see that the lactose component has been reduced to 2 to 3%, while the lactic acid content has been there, which is not there in milk. Now, exactly what happens in milk? Why this fermentation brings about changes in the milk structure? We will see this with the help of these few slides. Now, in the first one, we can see the milk sugar structure of milk sugar lactose. This lactose is cleaved by the enzyme lactase into glucose and galactose. Lactase is elaborated by the starter culture organism. Next, this lactose being converted to glucose and galactose can offer the glucose for the glycolytic steps. Now, galactose on the other hand can be converted to or isomerized to glucose. These glucose units are used up by the starter culture to convert into pyruvate by the mode of glycolysis. And after the formation of pyruvate, it's the next step of reduction of pyruvate to lactic acid using the enzyme lactic dehydrogenase, again elaborated by the same starter culture organism. So this is a whole picture how exactly the lactose or the milk sugar can be converted to lactic acid. Lactose is a sugar while lactic acid is acid in nature. So the whole property of the milk gets changed. Now, if we move on into still more elaborate details, we will see that the milk protein casein is affected by the production of this acid. Casein exists in the form of micelles in milk. These are held together by several caseins like alpha casein, beta casein, kappa casein, and moreover the calcium phosphate ions are very important in holding these several types of caseins into a micellar network. Now these calcium and phosphate ions get solubilized as the milk pH decreases. The initial pH of milk is 6.8. Now, as lactic acid gets produced, the pH gets reduced. And due to this reduction in pH, the calcium and phosphate ions, which basically hold the micellar structures, they basically fall apart or they are removed from that place. And as such, the casein moiety, the micellar structures are destabilized. Finally, this results in the formation of a gel entrapping all the nutrients present there. That is casein, the fat in the milk sugar, little bit whatever is remaining, lactose, and several other vitamins, calcium and other things all get entrapped to give rise to a curd. Now, all these diversification resulted Kosi-Koski in 1977 to classify all these fermented products into 4 different categories, mostly based on their acid content. The first, as we can see, is acid alcohol. In this product, along with acid elaborated by lactic acid bacteria, we also have the formation of ethanol by yeast cells, which are also inoculated. Typical example would include kefir and koumiss. Coming to the second category is of high acid product. While acidity in these cases is very high, that means the products are very sour to taste. Now we have 2 examples here, Bulgarian sour milk and acidophilus milk. Now mostly people would not consume these for their sour taste, but for their therapeutic benefits. Coming to the third category, we have a medium acid product, which means the acidity is kind of moderate, and that is why people will enjoy consuming this. We have the variant yogurt, commonly known as curd or dahi all over the world, is the third category medium acid product. Winding up with the last product is the low acid variety, which are cultured buttermilk or cultured cream. These are faintly fermented, in the sense they are very slightly acidic, but mostly are involving some kind of microbes. So we have included these under the fermented dairy products. Moving on to next, a typical product, acidophilus milk. Now we will be trying to understand the manufacturing process of this product, which will give us some idea about how various other products are produced. Once we finish with this, we will also discuss about few other products very briefly with their characteristic details. Now, acidophilus milk was earlier known as a very sour product. Recent trends have been there to produce a variety called as sweet acidophilus milk. What is the difference here in these two? In the sour variety, we have mainly fermented product and acidity is high, while in the sweet variety, no fermentation takes place, and as such, we just have the organisms being inoculated into it, principally the 2 starter cultures, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and sometimes even Bifidobacterium bifidum. These 2 are probiotic in nature. Probiotic means for life. That is, these 2 bacteria have beneficial effects on the human intestine. Once implanted, they proliferate to give rise to huge numbers of these organisms which can resist the growth of other pathogenic organisms. If we quickly look into the origin of this product, acidophilus milk, we will see that it is Australia, and once the products are produced, they have a lactic acid content of approximately 1%, not more than this, and typical lactobacillus counts ranging from 2000 to 3000 million cells per ml of the sample. And the other constituents would be fat, protein, carbohydrate, sugar, and calcium in the respective amounts. Now, moving on to a typical manufacturing process. Milk is the initial starting material, can take any variety of milk. Most often used is a cow milk variety, which can be whole milk or can be partly or fully skimmed, depending on the product required, whether a fat product is required or a non-fat product is required. The next steps involve filtering and clarification. Now, obviously, the milk that we choose should be of good bacteriological quality, which means to say no organisms should be present. If at all some are present, it should be into the minimum level. And it should be also free of certain other properties, like there should be no antibiotics, no sanitizers in the milk. Coming to the clarification and filtration step, these will eliminate any leukocytes or any other sediments which may be present in milk. After this, moving on to the next strategy is homogenization. It's a very important step in any dairy production unit. Cream in milk generally separates out as a layer, but this is not to be present in any product, any fermented product, because it would result in a heterogeneous product development. Thus, the process of homogenization involves passing of the milk under high pressure, approximately 11 to 14 kilopascal, through a very small orifice. This results in the reduction of the fat globules, which are approximately 4 micrometer in diameter, to 1 micrometer. These resulting 1 micrometer fat globules are very finely dispersed in the milk and gives rise to a homogeneous product. After the homogenization step, the milk is then sterilized. It is of utmost importance to go for sterilization in production of acidophilus milk, because Lactobacillus acidophilus, that is the starter bacteria, would not tolerate contaminants, while other products can be produced without sterilization. Now, the regime that is undertaken is 115 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes. Milk is heated, or we can have a reverse process of 95 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes, after which the milk is cooled to 38 to 40 degrees centigrade. This is the ambient temperature where Lactobacillus acidophilus would be incubated and could grow well. Inoculation is achieved at a 3 to 5% level. This inoculation is followed by incubation of the product, which is kept at the same temperature of 38 to 40 degrees centigrade for 12 to 16 hours. And this is the time when the milk coagulates into curd. Once the coagulum is formed, the coagulum is broken down because acidophilus milk is a drinkable product. Further, cooling takes place at 10 degrees centigrade, and then finally packaging and storage should be preserved at 5 degrees centigrade. Now, acidophilus milk consumption is a world over practice, mostly for the benefit, not for the taste. Most people would consume this just because they are consuming probiotic organisms along with the product. Lactobacillus acidophilus have certain therapeutic benefits as well, like it is very useful in people who are suffering from simple constipation or other forms of constipation, colitis, or even auto-intoxication. Regular intake of acidophilus milk is very beneficial. Now, there are two problems associated with the production of Lactobacillus acidophilus milk. The first one is, most of the time the products get contaminated with other organisms. We can get rid of this by sterilizing the milk at the ambient temperatures. And the second problem that is most common encountered is that the product has a very low shelf life. This can be increased by proper keeping temperatures, maintaining a 5 degrees centigrade for storage. Now we are moving on to the second product, that is cultured buttermilk. Now we can see here a wide range of organisms involved: Lactococcus lactis, subspecies Cremoris, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and Leuconostochremoris. These are only a few to name. There are some more, or you can say a mixed culture most often is involved in production of cultured buttermilk. What is this product actually? It's a refreshing drink. Most often it is produced as a fermented byproduct of butter manufacture. How exactly butter is produced? It is produced by churning of milk or cream fermented by a lactic acid bacteria. During this fermentation, acidity is produced and the product has a better keeping quality. Now, these products are principally made to be used as for baking, for use in dips, for just common consumption as a retail store, and has again advantages quite similar to that of acidophilus milk. The third product, which is sour cream. Now this is slight diverse kind of a product because here the fat content is very high. The sour cream originated from Russia and Eastern Europe, and it is an extremely viscous product because of the fat content present in these, which is as high as 10 to 14%. The shelf life, that is keeping time, can be as high as 4 weeks if properly maintained. So we can actually see that plain milk, which we cannot keep even for more than 2 days or 3 days, but a product like this, like a sour cream or a cultured buttermilk, can be kept for 10 days or even weeks together. In a sour milk variety, the sour cream basically is used most often as salad dressings, as dips, in several other preparations, in sauces. And what is the organism involved here? It is Streptococcus lactis and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. Now, like a sour cream, we have another variety of crème fraîche. This is originating from the France, and it is also a viscous product. It has a very thick texture, and the fat content here you can see is very, very high, in the range of 30 to 40%, and with a shelf life of 10 days or more. So we have seen some of the products. Some of the fermented products are classified into several categories, while a proper classification is not possible because most of the products can be into the thick textured ones, the typical viscous products, or some may even be drinkable or the beverage category, while the most frequently used ones are the probiotic ones. Probiotic means for life. Now we can use the fermented dairy products as a vehicle or a carrier for incorporation of the probiotic cultures like Lactobacillus acidophilus, Bifidobacterium bifidum. These bacteria can get implanted into the intestine and serve as good bacteria. Now you can enjoy an ice cream while you even don't know that probiotic organisms are there in the fermented product, and you are consuming it while your gut is getting benefited. Thank you.